Hello there, I am the Walkthrough 184 and I've been an avid achievement hunter ever since I got an Xbox all the way back in 2009. And I've managed to get quite the amount of difficult achievements since then, so much so that I've actually already done a video about my True Achievements top 10 list a while back. Which, here's a link to that video if you're interested or just want to get caught up. But yeah, I'm back now to talk about a few more that I've personally picked out that wasn't on that top 10 list. So yeah, let's just jump right into this with the first achievement that I picked, which is Queen in Race the Sun, in which you must score 10 million points in one run. Now, Race the Sun itself is very much a endless runner type of game, where you just try to survive for as long as you can and get as high a score as you can. And that's how this game is across its, I believe, 6 different game modes. Which really doesn't matter for this achievement, but I'm only bringing it up because there is a version of it that's like the hard mode, and those have achievements in it. And I'm just saying it's funny that the regular mode has the hardest achievement and not the hard mode, but I digress. Now, the way this achievement has to be won is by learning the areas that you find yourself in while playing. And I do specifically mean the areas because how this game works is that you never get the same map like twice. Every, I want to say 12 hours or 24 hours, the map resets. So because of that, what you end up learning today will not be the same tomorrow. So you only have a limited amount of time to get it right the first time before having to restart, which leads to you needing to learn the individual areas, like where the shortcuts are or where to get more points to up your multiplier, and find out where the hidden portals are to get to the special worlds, as well as keep an eye out for power-ups to prevent the sun from going down, as well as giving you an extra edge. Now, unfortunately, this is not an achievement you could just jump right into. You actually need to level yourself up to get yourself ready for it, and once you are at level 25, which I believe is the max, you then need to prepare yourself by choosing what 3 bonuses you want to use. Like, do you want to use one that prevents the shadows from taking more of your sunlight away, or one that allows you to have more jumps or whatever else? Now, I can't personally remember what exactly I used, but I do want to say that I used the multiple jumps because those are more common, as well as the sunlight prevention where you go in the shadows and it takes less. And well, once you're ready to go, you gotta start learning the level like I said, trying to find the best places to get your multiplier up, and most importantly, because this was what I needed to figure out when I went for this, is go into as many special zones as you can. And this is for 2 obvious reasons, the first of which is that there's going to be a whole bunch of triangles that you could pick up to boost your multiplier, and every time you leave them, it resets your sunlight, so you're back at 100. But I will definitely say that there are some certain special worlds that are much better than others, but again, you don't get to choose which one you go to, so you just have to deal with what you're dealt. Like, the worst ones are the Twilight Castle and maybe the forest, but the best ones are the underwater and especially the space one. And the only other thing I could really note is that whenever you bump your ship into like a wall, you end up losing like part of your multiplier as well as the part of your sunlight. Which is why, actually, if I remember correctly, one of the things that I used was the faster turning to prevent this. Also, not hitting the walls allows you to get a bonus at the end of every area you complete. But when it comes to this achievement, there is one major issue that I'm honestly surprised when I even played it for how old this game is still in the game. That being the fact that whenever you go into a bonus stage, there is a good chance, like a 75%, maybe 65% chance that the stage won't load properly, and you're just completely soft-locked. And unfortunately, because of this, it adds a extra layer of difficulty to this achievement, getting this achievement. But again, regardless, this is something that obviously should not be in this game. I honestly don't know how they did not go and fix this. Because, like, you could have an over 5 million point run going and then go in and then just get screwed and then be forced to restart. Now, I won't say that this glitch completely ruins getting this achievement or trying to get this achievement, but it does severely hinder it. And that's all I really gotta cover with this achievement, except for one last thing, which is the main key to success to unlock this achievement is to basically just play perfectly, which is obviously much easier said than done. You know, the longer you play, the higher your multiplier gets, the more bonuses you get, and it just becomes easier as you go. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about this achievement. Now to move on to the next one, which is in ancient antiquity, do hard time in the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Now, even back in the day when this series first started, it was well known for being some of the hardest video games of all time, or at the very least, some of the hardest 3D platformers of all time. So when they finally got remade and re-released, all those people who suffered through them back in the day were able to go through it again, and people who have never played them were able to get screwed over. Since these games are home to many bullshit things such as precision platform jumping or dickish enemy placements, but luckily in this trilogy at least I would say that it gets softer along the way, because in the later games you get more moves which really do help out. But those are in the later games. This specific achievement is in the first game, which is easily the hardest. And on top of that, it's connected to something that wasn't, like, finished in the first game. Or I guess not put into the first game, more specifically. Yes, what this is connected to is a level that was originally in the first game, but wasn't, like, put into the final release. And the only reason I can think of is simply because the creators thought or deemed it way too hard and just decided not to put kids through that torture. And so, as the remake was created, one of the few bonuses that it came with was this removed level. And because of that speciality, it came with, I believe, 2 specific achievements dedicated to it, one of which is just simply beating it, but the other one is the one we're talking about right now, which its description is a bit vague, I guess. It's an achievement to beat the level's time trial at gold level. Now, for what it's worth, I want to say that the time trial time you actually have to get is lenient, but I honestly don't remember. But what I do remember is the whole entire reason that this is on this list and why it took me I think it honestly took me a whole day, nearly a day to get this one. That is because whenever you die during a time trial, you get set back all the way to the beginning. So then you see where the true difficulty is in this achievement, which is the simple fact that you have to beat it without dying once. And that is because this is a level that pulls out all the stops. Like I said before, bullshit enemy placement, pixel perfect jumps, timing your jumps, and just anything you could think of, it's in here. And as with any challenge where you can't die, it's just a whole lot of getting yourself to a certain point in the level, then dying, then restarting, then getting yourself a little bit further each time, as you're able to memorize it much more every time you go in, eventually leading to you finally getting that perfect run where you get it and you get on through. Although if I do remember correctly, the first time I actually beat the level, I actually didn't get gold. I think I got silver or bronze. But luckily I was so familiar with the level that I managed to get it down to gold and very shortly after. And well, that's all I gotta say about this 3D platformer. Now to move on to the next achievement, as well as a different genre in the first-person shooter category, or I suppose I should say collection of achievements, because the next few I'm gonna talk about is the first 5 Call of Duties campaigns on Veteran. And I do specifically mean the first 5 because for how infamous Veteran mode is, the Veteran difficulty, it's only truly personified as hard, at least to me, through the first few games. Everything after World at War, although having some difficult parts within them, Nothing compares to these earlier games. These games will have you fighting tooth and nail just to make inches of progress within each mission, with pinpoint accurate enemies that can bring you to a red screen within an instant, combined with an infinite amount of grenades and soldiers. You really do need to be both on your A game as well as very patient in order to get these campaigns done. And I guess I'll just quickly go through each individual game and say what the worst part of them are. With Call of Duty 1, it's the fact that this game has no regenerative healing. Instead, it has classic med packs that you would pick up when you're low on health. Except the issue here is that when you play on Veteran, these things just completely disappear. There's none to be found. So that health bar is literally all you have. Next up we have Call of Duty 2, which for the most part is still genuinely hard, but there is one part that sticks out in my mind. That being whenever you go upstairs. Whenever you need to go upstairs to complete an objective, I don't know if this is real, but it always feels like that there's an infinite amount of spawning that happens up there. Like, I'm pretty sure this game in general doesn't have it, but whenever you need to go upstairs in a, building, they're gonna just non-stop be up there, and you have to push yourself into it somehow. Now we have Call of Duty 3, which its hardest parts are when you have to go and do, quick time events and you can still get hurt while doing them, out in the open. But what I remember is that, I could be wrong about this, but if I remember correctly, this game has set checkpoints. Every Call of Duty has it to where if you get, killed enough times at a certain point, it'll start giving you pity checkpoints. But I'm pretty sure this one doesn't. It's you need to get from point A to point B in order to get a checkpoint. You won't get anything in between it. Alright, then we have Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which originally I couldn't think of anything, but then remembered that this game has bullshit turret sections, where you're just stuck and you cannot do anything but pray that the enemies don't hurt you enough to kill you. Also, the turret overheats way too quickly. And finally, we have World at War, which is probably the most infamous Call of Duty on Veteran, which surprisingly is not because of the infinite enemy spawn rate, but instead of their infinite supply of grenades, which they just spam on top of you. The enemies have so many grenades to throw at you that you kinda wonder how they lost the war. But jokes aside, those were the first 5 Call of Duties on Veteran. So I guess it's time to shake things up once again with the genre as we move on to the next achievement on our list, which is I Want It All in City Skylines, in which you must unlock every single building in the game. Now to start off, this achievement has the unique honor of being the only achievement on this list that I've unlocked actually twice. Once in the original version of the game and the other in the remastered version. But anyway, we have the game itself, which obviously it is a city builder, and it is probably the most realistic city builder that has ever been made. Or at least, hopefully, until the sequel comes out. This game is also considered the spiritual successor to the SimCity franchise. So then if this game is about building your own mega city, then what do you have to do to unlock every single building within it? Well, there are a certain set of challenges that you need to complete for every individual building, which I want to say there are 30 of them? Maybe more or less, but 30 sounds about right. And when it comes to these challenges, there are, I want to say, 3 types of them. The first of which are the ones that are easily to get. You would just play the game normally and get them. The second ones are the save scumming ones, where you basically need to destroy a portion of your city, then make a separate save in order for it to confirm as you getting it. Examples for both of these: the first one is that you simply have to get $500,000 for one of them, or construct a fishing pier and a riding stable. But then for the second one, examples include needing your citizens' health below 20%, or having all the tax rates at 4%, or the one where you literally have to get I think 1,000 or 2,000 abandoned buildings within the city. But then that leads us to the third types of these challenges, which are the actually hard ones, where you actually have to build up your city to massive amounts, or special, certain parts of it, like needing to get 10,000 squares of an industry zone or 20,000 squares of a commercial zone. That was my last one. That was a bitch. Or the other really annoying one, like needing to get 15,000 kids into elementary schools. Or the one that I really sucked at, which was the 3,000 weekly public transportation users. And these are hard because there's so many factors not only going into building your city or growing it, but it's like you need to specify that these things like grow in their natural way in order to get them done, or come at them one at a time, which could take a really long time. And well, that's all. This is hard enough, but then there's just the simple fact that if you don't know how to play this game properly, then don't even bother trying for these. Like, you need to know that you need to like upgrade your buildings. I didn't even know that when I first started playing. And you upgrade them by placing down all the facilities that they need for like police or hospitals and leisure. And when they upgrade, they're obviously able to hold more people for working or living. But even I gotta admit, when I replayed this game with the remastered version, even knowing how to properly play it, it still took a long time to do. So at the end of the day, I guess I would say that the true difficulty factor for this achievement is just simply patience, however much you can have of it. And that just about wraps up our city building escapades. And now to move on to something where you actually have to move your body. That is because the last achievement I am going to be talking about is Gear Master in Sonic Freeriders, in which you must place first with every gear in order to unlock. Oh, Sonic Freeriders, what is often considered the worst Sonic game, which is pretty impressive considering the competition that it's up against. But why is that? Well, this is a spin-off game and the third game in the Sonic Riders series, and this series doesn't see you riding as like a traditional kart racer clone. It's instead on the boards called Extreme Gear, where the characters will have to use their weight and body in order to move their gear around. And well, it's not the most popular series within Sonic, but I mean, it was popular enough to get 2 sequels, so then why was this one so lambasted? Well, unfortunately, it's all because of one dirty little gaming word: Kinect. The Kinect being Microsoft's hat being thrown into the whole motion control craze of the late 2000s, early 2010s. Except when it came to the Kinect, unlike their rivals, there was no remotes in play, except just one big sensor that would turn you literally into the remote. I think that was the tagline for the commercials. So then you gotta admit, this is a pretty cool idea. You being able to move in real life and affecting the game. That's like a step closer to virtual reality. So what could go wrong? Well, I mean, this is Microsoft we're talking about, so they just plain didn't work. So much so that even during a demonstration, the infamous "you could see under a avatar's foot" screw up happened. And so with all that said, we lead ourselves back around to the actual game and see why people, well, hate it. Because simply put, when a game doesn't work or you can't play it, then what's the point? And when I first started playing this game, I was definitely in that boat. I had issues trying to get the characters to turn properly or jump so I could hit the stunts. But after looking where my Kinect was, I decided to put it into a higher elevation so it can get like a bigger radius field. And when I did that, I gotta be perfectly honest, this game kinda, well, worked not perfectly, like 80 to 90% of the time after that. And well, when you actually get this game working, it's actually not half bad. This game has some really well-designed racetracks, and as well as some good music, but that's expected. And all the characters play differently based off of their size and weight, so that's neat. Or the fact that they made 2 entirely different types of gears, the regular gear and the bike gear, and they play completely different. But I gotta say, my favorite part of the whole thing is the actual like movement stuff, like where you can actually affect the game by holding out your arms in order to get items or hit a pole so you could go into a shortcut, or like in a swimming section where you actually have to make a swimming motion in order to go faster. Yeah, no, there's some really neat stuff in this game. So then that leads us to the achievement itself, which has a 3-step process in order to unlock. The first step is to unlock all the gears by playing through the story mode and just unlocking them by well, I guess completing them. The second step is to get enough rings in order to buy them all from the store. And it's a very high number if I remember correctly, so you're going to be grinding for at least a bit. And then obviously the third step, using every gear to get first in a race. Now I gotta say that when it comes to the difficulty in this achievement, it is not found within step 2, or even really step 3. With the rings, when I was all said and done with all the other achievements, I kinda had most of the boards already unlocked, because you pick up a lot of rings when doing the game normally, and then when it actually comes to the grinding aspect, there's like a game mode where you have to collect as many rings as you can, so you just play those a few times and you end up with quite a lot. So that was really no problem, but then there's step 3, which is honestly just really annoying. That's because there are a lot of gears in this game. Like, there's the standard gears, then there's all the ones that you buy, then there's the bike gears, then there's literally a, specific one to each character individually, so you have to go through all of them, and that's just really annoying, especially since the game doesn't track what gear you've gotten first with for you, so you actually have to get out like a checklist of your own. But luckily there's like one small shining light in the darkness, which is that you can go to the rules of a standard race and change it to where you only have to do 1 lap, and it still counts. But then that leads us back around to, if steps 2 and 3 aren't the hard part, why is step 1 the hard part? That is because this game has a story mode with missions in it that you must complete in order to beat the story, obviously. And after you complete every mission, you get a rank. And well, if you don't see where this is going, it's going in the direction of, you need to get an S rank on every single mission in the game, which I believe there are 43 of them, in order to unlock the supersonic gear. And well, that's it. It's the fact that you have to get perfect, basically, on every single mission. And there are many types of missions that you have to do, like, there's the standard races where you not only have to get, first, obviously, but you have to do it within a certain amount of time. There's the aforementioned ring ones where you have to get, a stupidly large amount of rings. There's the flying challenges where you have to, fly your way through hoops, but you have to do it, perfectly. And if you just miss one, you gotta restart. Same with the grinding challenges, where you have to jump from rail to rail in order to get them done. There's the rival challenges, where it's just you versus one other character, which are pretty hard. There's the eliminate enemies ones, but those were actually pretty easy. But then there's the worst ones of all, which are the destroy objects missions, where of course you would have to destroy a certain amount of objects, but you have to destroy all of them in this case. But the issue with these, when I played at least, is that they're the one type of mission where I couldn't get the game to function properly at all. The idea being that you would put your fists out in front of you like you're punching something, and then the game would respond and with the character doing the same thing, except this virtually would never work. So it'll basically boil down to me just flinging my arms around hoping that something would work. And I mean, eventually I found some stuff would work, but then when I replay it wouldn't work, so this was just a complete crapshoot the whole way through. But really, at the end of the day, this part of the achievement just boils down to perfectionism, gameplay bullshit, where you just have to keep replaying the same mission over and over again until you get that perfect run, and then you're finally done on it. Then you move on to the next one and repeat the entire process over again. Except obviously with this being a Kinect game, every time you fail, you're draining yourself of more energy. So you might not be able to continue your attempts within one day. You might actually have to wait an hour or possibly even come back another day, which I suppose is an added extra layer of difficulty. But when you finally get that last S rank and you finally go unlock Supersonic, which, if I remember correctly, is actually free from the store, so that's good. And then you just go into the race, and I was actually pretty surprised by this. He doesn't immediately start as Supersonic. You actually have to unlock him by collecting 50 rings, which is pretty on point, but still. You go through that, you have to finish the race as Supersonic in first, obviously, and then boom, you got yourself a pretty difficult achievement. And well, that wraps up all the achievements I've covered in this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you like this content, be sure to subscribe and like, and maybe leave a comment. See you in the next video.